The Whispering Plague, a true story that will silence you forever. What if I told you there's a disease spreading right now, not through coughs or touches, but through whispers? A sound so quiet, you won't even know you've heard it until it's too late. This is the story of Patient Zero, of the doctors who tried to contain it, and why you need to check your home for the one sign that means you're already infected. Before we begin, turn up your volume. The warning signs are subtle. Pause this and check your walls. I'll wait. Smash that subscribe button, because by the end, you'll need the updates. Part 1. The first whisper. Dr. Lena Torres knew something was wrong when her ER patient wouldn't stop smiling. Not like a person, her notes read. Like something learning to smile. The man had been found wandering Highway 17, his ears packed with wet newspaper. When removed, the nurses recoiled. His ear canals were smooth. No ridges. No folds. Just polished tubes. Then he spoke. Patient Zero, they're coming in through the quiet places. That night, security footage shows Dr. Torres leaning close to hear her patient's fading words. His lips never moved. But if you enhance the audio. Part 2. The silent spread it moves through. White noise between radio stations. The hum of refrigerators at 3:17 a.m. That static vinyl baby monitors. If your skin is crawling right now, smash that like button. And subscribe immediately, because the survival instructions come next, and you'll want them before nightfall. Part 3. What it wants. Autopsies reveal the truth. Victims' tongues replaced with strange chitinous structures. Ear bones reconfigured into perfect sound receivers. Worst of all, their vocal cords missing, not removed. Repurposed. As Dr. Torres wrote before disappearing, it's not killing us. It's harvesting our silence. Part 4. How to check your home. You'll need a decibel meter. Phone apps work. Blacklight. Courage the signs. Unexplained sound dampening. Blacklight reveals saliva trails inside walls. Your own voice sounds different. Hear that? The second recording was taken after the test. Part 5. They're already here. The CDC's leaked whisper protocol states 1 in 4 homes now show early signs. It spreads fastest through podcast microphones. The infected don't know they're spreading it, because here's the truly terrifying part. You won't remember the whispers, but your walls will. So I need you to check right now. Is your room quieter than it should be? Do your ears feel full? Tell me in the comments, and for the love of God, subscribe with notifications on. Because tomorrow night, I'm releasing the only known recording of what happens when the whispers finish. The Hive Mind Phenomenon, a true story that will change how you sleep. Have you ever woken up with strange bruises? Unexplained scratches? The feeling that someone was in your room, watching you breathe? What if I told you those weren't just nightmares? That right now, as you watch this, thousands of people are experiencing the exact same terrifying phenomenon, waking at 3:17 a.m. to find their walls breathing. This isn't fiction. This isn't a creepypasta. This is a documented global event that neurologists can't explain, that governments are quietly studying, and that might be proof we're not alone in our own minds. Before we continue, I need you to do 3 things. Turn up the brightness on your screen, check that your doors are locked, hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to reveal will make you question reality itself. Part 1. The first documented case. Dr. Elias Chen's sleep study should have been routine. 8 volunteers. 2 weeks of brainwave monitoring. Simple data collection for insomnia research. Then night 6 happened. At precisely 3:17 a.m., all 8 subjects sat up simultaneously. Not groggily. Not at random intervals. In perfect unison, like marionettes pulled by the same string. The security footage shows them turning their heads in identical 37-degree increments, speaking in unison. We hear the hive now scratching at the walls until their fingers bled. When researchers rushed in, all 8 were comatose. Their brain waves? Perfectly synchronized. Not similar. Identical. The lab was shut down. The footage was classified. But the phenomenon didn't stop. Part TWO. The global pattern. Reddit user U3M Hive Mind first noticed it. Hundreds of reports, all describing waking at exactly 3:17 a.m. A static hum inside their skulls, the overwhelming urge to write numbers on their walls. The numbers were always the same, 317,317,317. But here's what made investigators truly panic. When overlaid on a map, the reports formed a perfect spiral pattern across North America. A spiral that's been growing. If your skin is crawling right now, smash that like button. And subscribe immediately. Because we're about to reveal never-before-seen footage of what happens when the hive mind takes control, and why the government is tracking people who wake up at 3:17 a.m. Part 3. The lost tapes. The family thought they were safe in their panic room. Their mistake. Thinking locks could stop what was already inside their heads. The recovered footage shows 2:59 a.m. All three children sit up in perfect sync. 3:05 a.m. They begin whispering numbers in unison. 3:17 a.m. Their heads snap toward the camera, and they smile with teeth that are suddenly too sharp. The audio engineer who analyzed the tape quit after hearing what's buried in the static. It's not one voice. It's thousands. Maybe millions. All saying the same thing: we're almost awake. Part 4. What they found in the brains. Neurologist Dr. Amora Patel leaked the shocking truth. MRI scans of affected individuals show unknown structures growing along the optic nerves. Brain activity that shouldn't be possible in humans. Most terrifying of all, the structures are radioactive. Her final journal entry before disappearing: they're not parasites. They're antennas. And something is transmitting. Part 5. You might already be infected. Check for these signs. Waking at 3:17 a.m. with a metallic taste. Finding unexplained numbers written in your handwriting. Dreams of vast, dark spaces with something humming below. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit: this isn't spreading. It's activating. So I need you to be honest in the comments. Have you experienced any of this? Woken at 3:17 a.m.? Heard the static? Found numbers you don't remember writing? This isn't just a scary story. This is happening right now. And if you're not subscribed with notifications on, you might miss the most important update in human history, because next week, we're revealing what happens when the countdown reaches 0. The children who remember tomorrow. What if your nightmares weren't just dreams, but memories? Not of your past, of your future. The story I'm about to share comes from classified medical reports, police transcripts, and the disturbing drawings of 17 children who all predicted the exact same catastrophe. This isn't just another creepy tale. It's a documented phenomenon that will make you question every déjà vu, every nightmare, every time you've sworn something impossible happened before. Before we begin, make sure you're watching this somewhere safe. Because once you hear what these children drew in their notebooks, you'll start noticing the patterns too. And if this story gets under your skin like it did mine, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Trust me. By the time we reach the final revelation, you'll want that notification bell turned on. The first case, Emily Carter. Dr. Richard Feldman knew something was wrong when his 6-year-old patient started screaming during a routine checkup. Not crying. Not whining. The kind of primal terror that makes nurses drop clipboards. She kept pointing at the ophthalmology chart. Feldman's notes read. Not at the letters. At the spaces between them. Said there wasn't a bad place there. That night, Emily gave her parents a crayon drawing, a city skyline engulfed in black smoke, hundreds of faceless people running, a towering figure made of television static standing where the courthouse should be, the date scrawled in clumsy numbers at the bottom, October 17, 2024. Emily's mother framed it as childhood imagination. Until 3 other kids at Emily's preschool drew the exact same scene. If your heart isn't racing yet, just wait. We're about to get to the truly terrifying part, so take a second right now to hit that like button if you've ever had a dream that came true. And subscribe if you want more documented horror stories like this every week, because what comes next, well, let's just say the CDC got involved. The pattern emerges by May 2023. 17 children across 6 states had produced identical drawings. The details matched with impossible precision. The static figure, always 317 feet tall, measured against buildings. Every clock in the drawing stopped at 3:17. The same phrase appearing in different handwriting. They made us forget last time. Child psychologist Dr. Lisa Tran's audio notes capture the moment she realized the horror. It's not precognition. They're not predicting the future. They remember it. Like it already happened. Jason just told me the big forgetting comes after. Says we'll wake up with blood under our nails and no memories, just like last time. The blackout interviews. The only adult witness was trucker Frank Biloxi, who claims to have driven through the static during a 1998 blackout. My CB picked up voices screaming in languages that don't exist. The road stretched like taffy. Then I saw them asterisk figures made of broken TV screens walking through cornfields. Next thing I know, it's morning and I'm parked sideways with 17 hours missing. Asterisk police dismissed him as a drunk until they found the Polaroid in his dashcam. It shows a highway stretching into impossible angles. And something crawling along the power lines. The current status as of this recording, all 17 children now wake screaming at exactly 3:17 a.m. Their drawings have progressed to a new phase, smiling faces with static for eyes. 5 report visits from the remembering man who whispers dates that match future disaster sites. Most chilling. The CDC has quarantined the original drawings. Not out of fear they'll spread panic, but because the ink keeps changing. So here's what I need you to do right now. Check your own childhood drawings. Look for repeating patterns, impossible knowledge, anything that shouldn't be there. Then tell me in the comments, because you might not be the only one who imagined something a little too real. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Next time you wake up with that eerie sense of déjà vu, ask yourself, is this really the first time? Or did something make you forget? If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and turn on notifications, because next week I'm revealing never-before-seen footage from inside the CDC quarantine, and what they've discovered in those changing drawings will rewrite everything we know about memory. The nightmare on Elm Hollow Road. Have you ever woken up at exactly 3:17 a.m. for no reason? That panic gasp as your eyes snap open, heart pounding, before you even remember why you're afraid? What if I told you there's a reason that specific time keeps appearing in paranormal cases across the world? The story I'm about to share comes from police records, hospital documents, and the terrified journal entries of 5 families who lived at 36 Elm Hollow Road. This isn't just another ghost story, it's a documented phenomenon that will make you question every shadow in your bedroom tonight. Before we begin, make sure you're watching this with the lights on. And if you start feeling like something's standing behind you while you listen, well, you've been warned. Oh, and if this story gets under your skin like it did mine, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories every week. Trust me, you'll want that notification bell turned on before we reach the final revelation. The house that watched the first family never made it to closing day. According to realtor notes from 1987, the Wilsons backed out after their 4-year-old daughter began having conversations with the tall nurse in what would have been her new bedroom. The child described her in exacting detail. A starched white uniform stained yellow under the arms, fingers too long, with blackened nails, a face mask that wasn't cloth, but skin. The final straw came when they found their daughter's favorite doll arranged on the floor, its limbs bent at impossible angles, a makeshift nurse's cap fashioned from tissue paper on its head. The house sat empty for 3 years after that. We're just getting to the truly terrifying part, so take a second right now to hit that like button if your skin is already crawling. And subscribe if you want more documented horror stories like this every week, because what comes next, well, let's just say the police still can't explain it. The second family, the Garcias, lasted 11 days in 1990. Security footage from their final night shows Mrs. Garcia bolting awake at exactly 3:17 a.m. She stares at the bedroom door for a full minute before whispering, "No, not again." The camera catches it before she does, the doorknob turning by itself. Not shaking. Not rattling. Turning with deliberate, surgical precision. When police arrived the next morning, they found every medical textbook in the house open to pages about bone fractures, all the family's shoes arranged in neat rows facing the basement, a single latex glove floating in the toilet bowl, still warm, most chilling of all. The Garcia boys' audio recorder, left running all night. The final 30 seconds capture wet, clicking footsteps approaching his bed, followed by a voice whispering, "This one hurt a bit." The investigation detective Mark Reyes caught the case in 2002 after the third disappearance. His notes reveal, every family reported a chemical smell. Before incidents occurred, all children drew the same figure before vanishing, a tall woman with syringe-like fingers. The basement walls contained traces of surgical antiseptic, though no hospital had ever operated there. His final journal entry reads, "Found what looks like an old nurse's station in the sub-basement." Strange thing is, the equipment isn't rusted. It looks recently used. Heard scratching from inside the walls. Not rats. Something keeping rhythm. Like counting sutures. Reyes took medical leave the next day. He was found a week later in his apartment, all his mirrors covered with sheets, his alarm permanently set for 3:16 a.m. The current owners, the house sold again last month. The new family claims they haven't experienced anything unusual, except their 6-year-old's new imaginary friend, a nurse Emily, who helps bad children sleep forever. Neighbors report seeing a tall figure in the upstairs window some nights, always at 3:17 a.m., always holding what looks like a lamp, or perhaps an four stand. And if you walk by the house too late, you might hear it, the soft squeak of rubber soles on hardwood. Getting closer. Always getting closer. So here's my question for you. Would you spend one night in that house if I paid you $1 million? Be honest in the comments, because I think we all know money wouldn't be enough. This story haunts me because it's not just legend, it's documented across decades, with the same terrifying details repeating again and again. If you've ever experienced anything similar, waking at exactly 3:17 a.m., seeing medical figures in your home, or finding strange arrangements of objects, I need you to tell me about it below. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and turn on notifications, because next week I'm revealing never-before-seen footage from inside 36 Elm Hollow Road, and what they found growing in the walls will give you nightmares for months. The house that breathes, you know that feeling when you walk into a room and instantly feel like something's wrong. The air feels thicker. Your skin prickles. And you could swear, just for a second, the walls pulsed. What if I told you that sensation isn't just nerves? That sometimes, the house really is watching you back? The story I'm about to share comes from police reports, contractor statements, and the terrified diary entries of a family who learned too late that their dream home was alive. Stick around until the end, because what happened in that house will make you look at your own walls very differently tonight. And hey, if you're enjoying this descent into darkness, don't forget to subscribe to Halfway Dark Through. Trust me, you'll want to stay in the loop after hearing what was growing in the basement. The purchase, the Clayworths bought 287 Mercer Street for a song. The Victorian stood empty for 12 years, too long, the realtor admitted, but blamed it on quirky architecture. The floors sloped strangely. Doorways didn't quite align. And the basement. You'll want to renovate that, she'd laughed, handing over keys without stepping inside. They should have listened. First signs, little Henry Clayworth stopped crying the moment they carried him over the threshold. His wide eyes tracked something moving across the ceiling. When his mother looked up, she saw only peeling wallpaper, until it rippled like a muscle flexing beneath skin. That night, Michael Clayworth woke to something brushing his cheek. Not a spider web. Not a draft. Fingers, impossibly long, cold as cellar dirt, retracting into the headboard. The indentation remained for hours. The breathing by week 2, they all heard it. A slow, wet inhalation when the house fell quiet. Not the pipes. Not the wind. Coming from inside the walls. Emma Clayworth recorded it on her phone, 15 seconds of thick, gurgling respiration that made the audio engineer she showed it to vomit. "That's not machinery," he whispered. "That's a lung." If you're still listening, first, congratulations on your bravery. Second, now's the perfect time to hit that subscribe button. What comes next? Well, let's just say you'll want a community when you're checking your own walls tonight. The worst is yet to come. The basement the contractor refused to finish the job after his first day. "Your foundation's all wrong," he told Michael, hands shaking. "The bricks, they're woven together. Like ribs." When Michael went down himself, he found the back wall shivering, a slow, rhythmic pulse behind the mortar. Then came the smells. Sweet decay. Copper. And beneath it all, the unmistakable scent of breath, the kind that rolls out from under a sickbed. The diary Emma found the previous owner's journal hidden in the attic. The final entry, dated Halloween 1999, "The house is hungry again." It's taken Timothy's voice and Margaret's left eye. "Last night I heard it chewing in the walls. God help us, we can't leave. The doors won't open from the inside anymore." Beneath this, a child's drawing. Their house with a gigantic mouth where the basement should be. The final night 9/11 received a call from 287 Mercer at 3:17 a.m. Just wet, clicking sounds. When officers arrived, they found all windows sealed shut with a substance later identified as dried mucosal discharge, every mirror covered in greasy handprints from the inside, the family's belongings neatly arranged, except for their shoes, all pointing toward the basement. But here's what still haunts the lead investigator. When they opened the basement door, the stairs were gone. Just a smooth, fleshy tunnel descending into darkness. And from deep below came a sound like a contented stomach rumbling. The house stands empty now. The for sale sign went back up last week. Sometimes at night, neighbors see lights flickering in the attic. And if you stand on the porch too long, you'll feel something lick the soles of your feet through the wood. So tell me in the comments, would you have lasted one night in that house? Be honest. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Next time you're house hunting, pay attention to how it feels when you step inside. Does the air feel stale? Do the floors creak in rhythm? And most importantly, does it seem happy to have you there? If you made it this far, you're braver than most. But don't go just yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's story. Because I've got footage to show you from the new owners of 287 Mercer Street. I know you'll love what they found growing in the walls. The Smiling Man on Larkspur Lane, a true story that will haunt your night. Have you ever woken up to find something in your room that shouldn't be there? We've all had that moment, sitting bolt upright in bed, heart pounding, convinced we saw something move in the darkness. Most times, it's just our imagination. But what if it wasn't? What if something was really there, watching you sleep? Today I'm sharing an absolutely bone-chilling true story that will make you triple-check your locks tonight. This isn't just some campfire tale, it's documented in police reports, witnessed by multiple people, and has left investigators baffled for years. Before we begin, make sure you're watching this with the lights on. And if you've ever experienced something similar, I want to hear about it in the comments, because you're not alone. Oh, and if you hear any strange noises while listening to this, well, let's just say I warned you. Now, let's begin the story that ruined one family's life forever. Part 1, the first sighting. The Miller family moved into 1427 Larkspur Lane on a sunny June afternoon. The perfect suburban home, white picket fence, sprawling backyard, and according to the realtor, absolutely no skeletons in the closet. How wrong they were. 12-year-old Emily Miller was the first to see him. She woke at exactly 3:17 a.m. to find a man standing at the foot of her bed. Not a shadow. Not a trick of the light. A real, flesh and blood man in a wrinkled grey suit. The worst part? He was smiling. Not a normal smile. Not a friendly smile. A grin that stretched too wide, showing too many teeth, like his face might split open at any moment. When Emily screamed, her parents came running, but the man was gone. The only evidence he'd been there at all were the muddy footprints leading from Emily's bed to her closet. Police found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. Just a terrified little girl and two confused parents who tried to convince themselves it was just a nightmare. Until it happened again. Part TWO. THE neighbors secret. The Millers soon learned they weren't the first family on Larkspur Lane to encounter the smiling man. Mrs. Henderson from across the street showed them her late husband's journal. The entry dated October 31st, 1992 read, "Saw him again last night. In Timmy's room this time. Still wearing that damn suit. Still smiling. The police won't listen. They never do." The next page contained a child's crayon drawing of a tall man with black eyes and a mouth stretching ear to ear. Scrawled beneath it in shaky handwriting, "He lives in the walls." Mrs. Henderson's voice dropped to a whisper. "My Timmy stopped speaking after that night. The doctors called it selective mutism. But I know the truth. He's afraid if he talks, the smiling man will come back." Part 3. The footage determined to prove they weren't crazy. The Millers installed security cameras. For 2 weeks, nothing unusual appeared. Then, on the morning of July 17th, they checked the footage from overnight. At 3:17 a.m. exactly, every camera glitched simultaneously. When the feed returned, something had changed in Emily's room. Her stuffed animals, previously neatly arranged on a shelf, were now positioned in a perfect circle on the floor. In the center of the circle lay a single playing card, the Jack of Diamonds. But here's what still haunts me. When they zoomed in on the card, they realized the Jack's normally neutral expression had been altered. Someone had carefully drawn a grotesque, too wide smile stretching far beyond the boundaries of his face. Part 4. The previous owner's a trip to the county records office revealed why the realtor had been so eager to sell 1427 Larkspur Lane. The previous owners, the Wilkerson family, had left in the middle of the night 5 years prior. They abandoned all their possessions, including their car in the driveway. The police report noted no signs of foul play, but one officer's handwritten comment stood out. "Whole family keeps saying he's in the walls over and over. Kids won't stop screaming about the smiling man. House gives me the creeps." The most disturbing discovery? This wasn't the first time the house had been suddenly abandoned. It happened in 1987, and 1973, and 1954. Always in July. Always after reports of a tall man in an old-fashioned suit appearing in children's bedrooms. Part 5. The final night on July 31st, the Millers woke to the sound of Emily screaming. They burst into her room to find her pointing at the closet door, which stood slightly ajar. "He's in there," she shrieked. Mr. Miller threw open the closet to reveal nothing. Just clothes hanging neatly. But as he turned to comfort his daughter, he noticed something that turned his blood to ice. All of Emily's shoes had been rearranged. They were all pointing toward the closet. That was the last night the Millers spent in the house. They moved out the next morning, leaving everything behind. The new owners claim they haven't experienced anything unusual. But the neighbors tell a different story. They say that sometimes, late at night, you can see a shadow moving behind the upstairs windows of 1427 Larkspur Lane. And if you look very closely, it appears to be smiling. So what do you think really happened on Larkspur Lane? Was this a case of mass hysteria? A shared hallucination? Or is there something more sinister lurking in that house, something that comes out every few years to torment a new family? Here's what chills me to the bone. This isn't an isolated case. Across the country, people report nearly identical experiences. Always a tall man in an old suit, always that unnatural smile, always appearing in bedrooms at exactly 3:17 a.m. If you've ever encountered the smiling man, or any other entity that shouldn't exist, I want to hear your story in the comments below. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join Halfway Dark, because I share true horror stories like this every week. One last thing before you go. If you wake up tonight and feel like you're not alone in your room, if you see movement in the shadows, whatever you do, don't look at the closet. The shadow that follows you home, a true horror story. Have you ever felt like something was watching you from the shadows? That prickling sensation on the back of your neck when you're alone at night? What if I told you that feeling isn't just your imagination? In today's bone-chilling tale, we'll explore a true story so terrifying it will make you think twice about being alone in the dark. This account comes from multiple witnesses and police reports, making it one of the most disturbing cases of paranormal activity ever documented. Make sure you're watching this with the lights on, because by the end, you might start seeing figures in your peripheral vision too. And if you've ever experienced something similar, let me know in the comments below. Now, let's begin our descent into darkness. The story begins. Sarah had always been sensitive to the supernatural. As a child, she saw shadows moving where no shadows should be. Her parents dismissed it as an overactive imagination, but the visions never stopped. When she moved into her first apartment at age 23, Sarah thought she'd finally escaped the phenomena. The building was new, with no tragic history or reported hauntings. For 6 peaceful months, nothing unusual happened. Until the night of October 17th. Sarah woke at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of scratching. Not the random scuttling of mice, but deliberate, methodical scraping coming from inside her bedroom wall. As she lay frozen in bed, the scratching formed a distinct pattern, 3 long scrapes, then 2 short ones. Over and over. Then came the whispering. Sarah. Not spoken aloud, but inside her mind. A voice like dry leaves scraping against concrete. She fled to her living room and called the police. When officers arrived, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no animals in the walls. Just a terrified young woman clutching a baseball bat. The officers' report noted one odd detail: 3 parallel scratches on Sarah's bedroom wall, about 7 feet up. Too high for her to reach. The marks looked years old, despite the building being newly constructed. The neighbor's story: 2 nights later, Sarah's neighbor Jake knocked on her door at 2:45 a.m. "Please tell me you hear that too," he begged, eyes wide with terror. The scratching had moved to the shared wall between their apartments. The same pattern, 3 long, 2 short. Jake, a skeptical engineer, had already checked for plumbing issues, electrical faults, even pests. Nothing explained the sounds coming from inside the walls. As they stood in Sarah's hallway, the temperature dropped suddenly. Their breath fogged in the air. Then came a new sound, a wet, guttural voice speaking from Jake's apartment. "Let me in." They ran. The investigation: the building manager found nothing. No broken pipes, no animals, no signs of intruders. But residents began reporting nightmares of a tall, emaciated figure standing in their bedrooms. Always at 3:17 a.m. Always watching. Security footage revealed something impossible. In the hallways, shadows moved against the light. They stretched when nothing cast them. They pulled in corners like spilled ink. The worst discovery came from the building's blueprints. The architect had committed suicide during construction. In his final journal entry, he wrote, "They showed me what lives in the walls. The thing that's been following me since childhood. It's in the angles." It's in the spaces between. And now it's in the building. The final night Sarah was the last to leave. As she packed her final box, the power went out. Her phone died. The digital clock flashed 3:17. From every wall came the scratching. 3 long. 2 short. The bathroom mirror reflected movement behind her. A shape too tall for the room. Arms too long. Fingers too many. When the lights returned, Sarah was gone. Her phone was found recording. The final audio is barely audible beneath static. We're inside now. So what do you think? Could this just be mass hysteria, or is there something more sinister lurking in the spaces between our walls? If you've ever experienced anything like this, unexplained scratches, shadow figures, or voices from nowhere, share your story in the comments below. And if you want more terrifying true tales, don't forget to like and subscribe to Halfway Dark. But before you go, listen carefully. Do you hear that? Probably just the house settling. Probably. The hollow ones, the first sign is always the whispering. Not from the walls. Not from the dark corners of your bedroom. But from inside your own skull. A voice that doesn't belong to you. A voice that knows things it shouldn't. Things you've never told anyone. Things you've never even thought before. Dr. Eleanor Voss heard that voice for the first time on a Tuesday evening. She sat in her office at the research facility, reviewing case files, when a wet, guttural whisper slithered through her thoughts like a worm burrowing into soft fruit. "You look tired, Doctor." She dropped her pen. The sound echoed through the empty office. Eleanor was a woman of science, a neuroscientist who had spent 15 years studying auditory hallucinations. She knew the brain's tricks. Knew how stress could manufacture phantom sounds. But this was different. This voice knew her name. The next morning, they found patient 14 dead in his apartment. His eyes were gone. Not gouged out. Not cut away. Removed with impossible precision, the sockets left smooth and hollow as if something had licked them clean from the inside. The coroner would later note the faint smile frozen on his lifeless face. Eleanor told herself it was suicide. A psychotic break. The man had been unstable. But when she returned to her office, she found something waiting for her. A single page from patient 14's file sat centered on her desk. The words "Thank you for listening" scrawled across it in a handwriting that wasn't hers. That night, the whispering returned. "We've been so lonely, Doctor." She woke to the smell of copper, her pillow damp with something thicker than sweat. The digital clock by her bed flashed 3:07 a.m. From the corner of her room came a wet, clicking sound, like a tongue running across teeth that didn't belong to a human mouth. Eleanor began documenting everything. Audio recordings. Video surveillance. Sleep journals. The data revealed impossible patterns. The whispers only came at 3:07 a.m. The temperature in her apartment would drop exactly 13 degrees at that time. And the voice was learning. "Your eyes are so pretty, Eleanor. May we borrow them?" Her research led her to the old Fairvale Asylum records. The archivist's hand shook as he pulled the crumbling files. "The Hollow Men cases," he whispered. 12 patients in 1923, all reporting the same hallucination, a figure of stretched skin whispering promises in the dark. All 12 died the same way. His finger tapped a faded photograph showing corpses with hollowed-out eye sockets and mouths sewn shut with what looked like human hair. Then the orderly started hearing it too, he said. "They're not hallucinations, Doctor. They're echoes. Things that used to be people. And they're always hungry." The last entry in Eleanor's journal was dated 3 days after her visit to the asylum. The handwriting grew increasingly erratic, the final lines barely legible. "They show you things when they take you. The other places. The other mouths. The endless dark between stars where they've been waiting. They peel back your skull not to eat your brain, but to whisper directly into the folds. They're coming for me, Tony, the sentence ended abruptly. They found Eleanor's body in her bathtub. Her eyes were gone. Her lips stitched together with thin strands of her own hair. The coroner noted the peaceful expression on her face. Almost like she was smiling. Her digital recorder was still running when they found it. The last 30 seconds contained only 3 words, spoken in a voice that wasn't Eleanor's. We're inside now. You're reading this alone, aren't you? In a quiet room? Maybe late at night? Pay attention to the silence between your heartbeats. That's when you'll hear it. The first whisper. We see you. The raven's shadow. The first time I saw the raven, it was perched upon the bust of Pallas above my chamber door. Its eyes were not black, as you might expect, but a sickly, jaundiced yellow, pupils like pinpricks, drinking in the dim candlelight. I had been reading, as I often did in those wretched, sleepless hours, when the wind howled through the cracks in the manor walls like a dying man's last breath. The fire had dwindled to embers, casting long, trembling shadows across the floor. And then, tap, 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 a sound like bony fingers against the glass. I told myself it was the storm. I lied. The raven did not speak at first. No, it was far crueler than that. It watched. As I poured my brandy. As I paced. As I whispered to the portrait of Lenore, my lost, my radiant, my unforgotten Lenore, whose painted eyes seemed to follow me now more than ever. On the third night, the raven hopped from its perch and landed upon my desk. Its claws scraped against the wood, leaving thin, deliberate grooves, letters, I realized too late. Lenore*. I laughed then, a shrill, broken sound. A trick! I cried. Some villain's jest. But the raven only tilted its head, those awful yellow eyes gleaming, and opened its beak. What emerged was not a bird's cry. It was her voice. Lenore's words poured from its throat, not as I remembered them, sweet and lilting, but rotten, warped, as if dragged through the grave and back. She spoke of things no living soul could know. The feel of damp earth pressing down. The sounds from the coffin lid. The way the worms squirmed as I seized the fire iron, swinging wildly. The raven took flight with a shriek, but the damage was done. The voice lingered, slithering through the room, coiling around my throat like a noose. And then, I heard the other voices. Dozens of them. Hundreds. All whispering from the shadows. All mine. The townsfolk found the door barred, the windows shuttered. They called my name. They pleaded. They pried the hinges loose with crowbars. The study was empty. No, not empty. The raven sat upon the chair, its feathers now black as a starless midnight. At its feet lay a single sheet of parchment, the ink still glistening. The dead are not silent. They are simply waiting for something to listen. And on the wall above, written in a hand that matched my own exactly, 3 words. I am coming. They say the manor stands empty to this day. But if you pass by at dusk, when the wind dies and the world holds its breath, look to the highest window. You'll see them. The raven. And the thing beside it, and so, the raven keeps its vigil. The shadows lengthen. The whispers grow louder. Tell me, do you hear them too? If this tale called its way into your mind like a creeping vine, then leave a candle in the window. Subscribe to Halfway Dark, and dare to wander deeper into the dark. For the night is long, and some voices never stay buried.